So part two, nurture. Now, part of why I travel is to see different cultures, conditionings, ways of thinking, etc. Again, with the idea that our behavior is we're all trying to fulfill the same basic needs. Now, in terms of the nurture, what I specifically want to talk about are kind of experiences that we have in childhood that shape who we are. Again, we have our personality that we're born with, and then we have different upbringings and experiences that further shape us. And so this is important because we realize that all of us are so often shaped by a significant part of our way of thinking and being is shaped by our childhood conditioning. And as animals, we are often motivated more by pain avoidance than by pleasure seeking. And so a lot of our conditioning is a result of the pain we experienced. And we come up with defenses or mechanisms so as to not experience the pain again. So when we're children, when we're babies, we have two fundamental needs. Well, we have one primary fundamental need, and that's for attachment. Because human babies are helpless, they cannot survive on their own. And so they really need a caretaker to take care of them. They need that attachment. And it's a non-negotiable need, because otherwise we'll die. Our other need that's true for all of us is the need for authenticity. Our need to be connected with ourselves, to know who we are, to know how we feel, and to act and be authentic, true to ourselves. However, when these two are in competition, the one that we can't give up as children is attachment. So when we're children and we really need our parents in order to survive, and somehow, for one reason or another, our authenticity jeopardizes our attachment, we suppress our authenticity in order to maintain that attachment, in order to stay connected to our parents, or to receive love and care and attention and food and shelter. We suppress our authenticity in order to foster that attachment. And this happens repeatedly. We create masks, we create this alternate persona of who we feel we need to be, and eventually we grow up and we no longer need that attachment for survival, or our attachment shifts to other things like friends, institutions, countries, etc. But we forget and we don't realize that a lot of who we've become is a mask, and it's not our authentic selves. And I believe that the process of maturing is transitioning from prioritizing attachment to authenticity. This is the idea of really connecting with our souls, connecting with who we are, connecting with our highest calling, connecting with God, and being willing to sacrifice our attachment, even our attachment to our own lives, in order to remain authentic, to do the right thing, to be who we truly are. So why we're so messed up? Feet the Truth by Neil Strauss. So the main idea is that we all develop some kind of childhood wounds when our needs are not met, again, and we prioritize attachment, and so we become somebody that who we're not actually. And contrary to popular belief, most people, including our parents who are not perfect, who have their own flaws, who are humans, just like the rest of us, they don't necessarily act out their own untreated childhood wounds as willful acts of evil. They just do it out of a lack of awareness. But even in this way, it can be just as harmful as any single malicious act. And we tend to pass on these wounds, if untreated, generation after generation. So he talks about kind of the primary ways that we can express unhealthy attachments. So we know we have avoidant, anxious avoidant, and then these kind of different categories of troublemaking scapegoat, mood lifting mascot, people pleasers, revered heroes, and lost children. Next, the framework that I like to think in terms of are the 5 soul wounds. Again, it's a very similar idea that we discover our authentic selves is not accepted, and so we adopt a kind of mask. But when we do so, we're hiding a part of ourselves, and it causes us to feel a lot of anger, guilt, regret, bitterness, and resentment. And the 5 main soul wounds. If you want more information, I have a YouTube video on this already. So there's the rejection wound with the fugitive mask, abandonment wound with the dependent mask, humiliation wound with the masochist mask, betrayal wound with the controlling mask, and justice wound, harsh, rigid mask. I know for myself, I have or experience more the rejection and the injustice, so my mask is withdrawn and harsh / rigid. And we all have these different masks and wounds to varying degrees, and it helps just to gain awareness of ourselves and to also, again, be able to understand that others are wearing their masks as well. So another idea from Landmark Forum is this fundamental genesis of identity. And again, we go through life, especially in childhood, we experience painful experiences, and then we create a story of who we need to be in order to survive in this world. And according to this fundamental genesis of identity, the first incident, we realize things can go wrong. Then we realize we don't belong. Then we realize that we're on our own. And it forces us, these experiences compel us to adopt certain character traits that we often carry with us into the world. Lastly, I'm going to talk about values. And so with all these experiences and wounds and personality, we end up with our values. And our values are our fundamental beliefs that guide or motivate us, and they help us determine what is important. So they are, in essence, self-imposed rules for living and being. They also are the measuring sticks by which we determine what is a successful and meaningful life. And that's all I will talk about for that. Again, just to summarize, I know this was a super long video. I appreciate you hanging in there. It might be one that you need to watch and review a couple times to get more, to integrate all this information. But in summary, the point is that we have the baseline, again, we're all similar, but we have certain differences in personality, upbringing, experience, in wounds, in childhood experiences, and we end up wearing masks, and at the end of it, we are all kind of reacting to the painful experiences that we had in childhood, and understanding this allows us to be really a lot more empathetic towards others, because we realize that we're all just doing our best, that hurt people, and that those who really hurt others are in a lot of pain themselves. And so, we can hopefully try to see past all of that, acknowledging it, but working past it through our ability to communicate consciously and effectively with others. So that's it for that video. Let me know what you thought. anything stood out, if you had any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, etc. I know that was a long video, so appreciate your patience. And in the next video, we'll get into some techniques and frameworks that we can use to communicate more effectively.